Welcome to A Better Choice podcast, brought to you by ABC Pregnancy Resource Center right here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, where we're going to get to the heart of the matter.
I'm Becky Girola, Executive Director.
And I'm Marietta, the All Things Girl, and we are so glad to have you joining with us today. Welcome back to A Better Choice podcast. We are so excited that you're joining us here again today. We hope that you're enjoying this week. We are on day 3, episode 3, and today we have our beautiful Executive Director, Becky Girola, the one and only.
Sweet.
She is the director of ABC Pregnancy Resource Center right here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and I couldn't think of a better person to talk with us today about how we, as parents, can open up the conversation about sex, not make it dirty, not make it this ugly thing that the world has turned it into, and help keep our children from being part of the statistics of unplanned pregnancy.
Yep.
So, Becky, today we've got a lot to review, and I know you just did the purity talk with your 10-year-old daughter. Tell us a little bit about how that went.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm so excited about this, like Marietta said. I just last weekend, my little girl is 10 years old, and we did Passport to Purity, and we had the talk. And I got to be honest, I was really nervous going into it just because it is a big topic. And, you know, sometimes you feel like I'm going to do this all wrong, and it's just going to be, worse than what it would be if I didn't talk about it at all. So I was a little nervous, but I've got to be completely honest. It was amazing, and it was so exciting to get to talk with her and to just see her developing into this young woman. I mean, I got emotional because I was like, this is awesome that I get to be her mom, that I get to, have this relationship with her and watch her develop into this beautiful woman. And she appreciated it too. Like she said, Mom, this was so great. And she said, thank you that you took the time to talk to me about this. So, I'm just so excited to get to share this with other parents and encourage them to do that. One thing, I don't, have a book. I didn't write a book about this. I don't have a blog or anything like that. But something that I do have is motivation. By working here at ABC for the past 8 years, and too, just being here for a few years, I have seen so many young women, young teenage women that, Marietta, they don't even have a driver's license, but they've already had 2, 3, 4 different sexual partners. Yeah. And our world, our society looks at that like, it's just a total normal thing. Yeah. It's fine. That's just what teenagers are going to do, with no concern for that young woman's overall well-being. Yeah. And for me, seeing that young woman, seeing her face, knowing that she's a real human, that she is sexually broken as a teenager, it gives me a lot of motivation to want to talk to parents and tell parents it starts in the home, and we can protect our children and we can change our culture.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was that teen. I was the teen that, had sex at 14, and I had a daughter at 17. And so I am very passionate about this. And now I work with women, and it's not even just our teenagers. This is rolling over into our adult women. Yes. And it creates more than just heartache and pain. It creates drug addiction. It creates outlets. They start trying to find outlets to feel better about themselves. And so it is so important that we start in the home and talk about it in the home. So I know it's the big dirty word, and y'all do not want to do this. We don't, but it's got to be done. So, Becky, how can you rip the Band-Aid off and just encourage our parents and say, just go for it, do it? Yeah. How do you get past that fear of...
Well, first, I think we need to start with our view of sex, and it goes back to the original design versus the world's view of sex. And so the original design for sex, we have to go back to the origin, to the creator. Who made us? Who made sex? And what is the purpose of it? And so if we go to Genesis, we see that God made everything. He saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And that includes sex. It was good. It was a good thing. thing.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine Adam and Eve being so free, so just free of shame, free of guilt. Our world doesn't know a world like that. But they did. They had that. It was so good. And James 1:17 says, every good and perfect gift is from above. And so to change our view that sex is a good thing, and sex, God designed sex on purpose, for a purpose. Obviously, we know what those purposes are for reproduction. I mean, we wouldn't be here if two people didn't have sex. So it is a gift. But there's also a much deeper spiritual gift in that. God designed sex for unity, for pleasure, and for his glory. And so if you really think about a man and a woman in a marriage covenant relationship coming together as one, that is God's gift to us, to show us in a tangible way how much God loves us and how he wants that oneness with us. We can have oneness with our Creator. He didn't have to do that. He could have made sex just very simple and something that had no meaning at all. But he's a good God, and he loves us and gave us that as a gift. Now, I just want to pause there for a second, because I know that maybe somebody's watching this that says, like, I hear what you're saying, but I can't accept that because sex is not a good thing to me. I've been sexually broken or sexually abused or hurt. And I just want to speak to that woman or young man that's listening, that we are here for you. Our hearts are here with you. Our hearts break for you in this, and that you are not alone in this. You are not abandoned. God has not forgotten you. You're not trash or garbage. No. There, hope and healing can come. There is help. But you're going to have to be brave and courageous and ask for it. And so if that's you, we encourage you to call ABC Pregnancy. We are a resource center. We have so many contacts of therapists and people who want to get in those messy places with you and help you heal, help you overcome that sexual brokenness. So if that's you, I want to make sure that we addressed you so that you know that we care about you. And also there's another person that's probably listening that I want to address as well. Maybe you're somebody who's agnostic. Maybe the whole conversation about God makes you kind of just, want to not listen. But I encourage you to continue to listen. And I want to challenge you. If you don't have a godly worldview, I just want to ask you why. What got you to that point? And if you're really honest with yourself, to really, consider that. Why do you have that worldview? And then 2, could there be a better choice that you could make in your life? Could there be a better way, a better worldview? I mean, that's the whole reason for this podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
Is to see, is there a better way? And so if you're really honest with yourself, I think that you might see that there is. And that's our hope for you. Yeah. Just with complete love for you. So to those 2 people, I wanted to make sure that we address that.
That's really good. We are here just as human as y'all are. And so, I don't know Becky's whole story, and you don't know mine, but I do know that all of us we walk through different trials for different reasons, and I believe that my walk, that God walked me through, it may not have been his, it may not have been the way he would have probably wanted me to, but he walked me through it very gently and lovingly. But that's my story, and it is what brought me to ABC. It's why I'm here. It's why I'm here pouring into all of you. I'm a mother, and I just want the best for my kids. I don't want them to have the mistakes that I had, and I don't think any mother or father ever go into parenting and say, I just really want my kid to just be promiscuous and just have sex with all the things and just have a baby very young and just make their life really hard. I don't think we ever go into life or into parenting with that in mind. And so this podcast is to help motivate us as parents. How can we create a healthy home environment that they can talk to us and open up? And this isn't just married couples. Although marriage is God's plan, we know that that's not always reality in this world. And so you single moms, single dads, we're talking to you too. Think about if you chose abstinence, even after having children, and I know your kids may not know what you're doing in your private life, but if you can truly, honestly say, no, I truly am abstinent, and until I find another man or woman, how many volumes that would speak to your child, that you've already been there, but you chose to go back because it's a covenant thing, and you know how precious it is. For yourself. Yeah. Totally. So I love that. And so just tell a little bit more in your expertise and research, how God's origin for sex, versus the worldly view and God's view. Yeah.
We kind of look at it. I'm sitting here telling you that sex is a gift and it's such a good thing. But if you look around our world, I don't think people would see that. They see a broken world. We see brokenness. We see sexual brokenness because our view of sex is broken. I mean, think about it. Look around. We have pornography, we have abortion, we have prostitution, sex trafficking. Why is that? It's because of something called sin. And sin simply, we sometimes want to think that sin is like murder and stealing and lying and cheating. But sin really all comes down to us trying to be God and us choosing a selfish way in our own way. So we've traded this beautiful original design that God has given us for sex. We've traded it for our own sexual autonomy. We want to do it our way. We want to do the way that we think is the best way. And so the result of that is brokenness. And that's why now you see people being sexually abused. You see sex being exploited for profit. I mean, and it's not even in all those big things I just said. I mean, you can look into our entertainment, movies, music, even in the advertising, sports, all of it.
Trying to do.
Businesses know that sex sells. So with profit in mind, they're going to continue to push this narrative, especially to vulnerable minds like our children, that you can have all the sex you want, free of charge, no consequences, and that's just a normal thing. But we know as parents, we know the truth, and especially if we've had experience, we know that sex has consequences. Yeah. And not only unplanned pregnancies and STDs, but deep emotional scarring that we want to prevent that for our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really good. That's why, like I said, I've said it over and over. So just don't turn off the podcast. Just, I know a lot of people, just in my own experience from being an advocate here, when you start talking about abstinence, they're like, yeah, whatever, and they kind of shoo you off. But just lean in and just kind of listen to us for a minute here and just really, really take this in and just think about all the areas of your life where you've given yourself away freely. Yeah. And in anything, but we're talking on sex, so let's go there. There's a piece of you that is broken from that, and it spills over. It spills over in our relationships. It spills over in everything. And so, how can we fix that? How can we fix that? And if you're not willing to fix it for yourself, be willing to fix it for your children, so they don't have to have. Yeah,
but it starts with us. It really does start with us.
It's got to start with you, and so. Don't turn off the podcast because you're like, whatever, this is, my least favorite, it's ear-piercing to me line that I hear from parents all too often is they're going to do it anyways. So let's protect them. Let's get them prepared for it.
Well, like what you were saying about abstinence, I see that a lot of, abstinence-only education doesn't work. And I really do agree with that to a point because, for so long, we just want to protect our kids. And so we just say, no, don't do that because I said so. I'm the parent. But when it comes to sex, that's not going to work. I mean, I have great examples of people I've known in my life that their parents said, like, no, sex is bad, don't do it. And just because their parents said that, it made them want to rebel and do it anyway. Because my parents told me not to, it made me think, well, then they're keeping something good for me and I want to go do that. Or the parents have gone way extreme. Sex is bad, it's bad, it's bad. You're going to get pregnant, you're going to get STDs. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. So much so that I actually had a friend who, she just despised anything sexual, thought it was the worst thing ever, just totally, totally the worst thing ever, that she even brought that into her marriage, which caused all kinds of problems. So I don't think we need to be extreme that because we want to set our kids up for success. So what I think is the important thing to do here is to shift our focus, not on sex is bad, don't do it, or kids, don't do it, it's bad, but shift it to sex is awesome, and it is so good, and it is a gift designed for a purpose in a marriage covenant relationship, and get our kids excited about marriage. Get them excited about having a family one day, excited about leaving a legacy. If you have a sex drive and you want to have sex, that's awesome. That means God has put that in you, that you're going to have a husband or a wife one day, that you're going to get to share that with. It's going to be beautiful. You're going to build a family and a legacy. Here's a great example that I heard that I thought was really awesome, and I shared with my daughter, is kids are so excited to get their driver's license, but we don't let them get their driver's license at 8 or 9. I mean, why do we wait till they're really 16? Dangerous. Because they're not mature enough. They could hurt themselves if they try to operate a vehicle. They could hurt other people. We need to have the same reverence for sex. Yeah. They're not mature enough to have sex right now. They can hurt themselves. They can hurt other people. There are severe consequences.
9 times out of 10, they're not going to stay with their high school partner.
Right. But do we say, like, driving is so bad, it's terrible, like you could die.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't do that to them. We don't just say,
But we
don't do
them.
it.
Yeah.
But we prepare them. We say, hey, you're going to go to driver's ed. You're going to get education. You're going to get a license. And it's going to be so exciting. And you're going to have so much freedom. And it's going to be great to get your first car and to do all this. And so we make it an exciting thing. Yeah. And I think that's really how we need to shift the conversation as parents to, this is a good, great thing. This is an exciting thing. But we want to do it the better way. We want to make a better choice when it comes to our sexuality. Another great example, and I brought some matches here. So here, I'm going to let you have all these, Marietta.
I don't.
Okay, so
I don't need these.
This is just a great visual for you. So would you ever give these to Zane, your 4-year-old, and be like, have fun, buddy? have a great time.
He's really smart, and he'd probably figure it out.
Right. Like my Sour Patch Kid, my baby right now is 5. Like I would never have these out anywhere because he would definitely burn the house down. I mean, why do we do this? Why do we not give matches to kids? Because we have great reverence and respect for fire. Is fire a bad thing? No, fire is a great thing. If you're cold, a nice warm fire, it can bring comfort and warmth. Yep. If you need to cook something and your power's out, you got a fire. I mean,
we all know that too well.
Right, recently. I mean, so fire is an awesome thing, but we view it with great respect. And it's the same way with sex. We wouldn't just, say, kids, have fun with sex, you know, but be careful. We wouldn't give them the matches and say, well, just be careful. No, we would take the time to educate them. Yes, because not only could they hurt themselves, they can burn the whole house down. And I mean, that's what sex can do in a family. That's what sex can do with an individual. It can burn the house down. And so we have to realize how important this is. This is not just a recreational thing that people do. It's very personal. It's deep. It's spiritual. And so I hope just like the visual of the matches.
Every time we see matches now, we're going to
that we realize like we need to have the same reverence for sex as we do for fire.
I heard one time, and this was very recently, but talking about fasting. So that we're going to go a little biblical here. So God fasted for 40 days. Imagine how hungry he was. Like, I get hungry if I don't eat for 30 minutes some days. And so I could only imagine how hungry he was and how starving he was for those things. And I never looked at sex and fasting in the same sentence, but it is. God gave us sex. He said, save it for marriage. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. But if you don't, it's the stretching. It's like a valley. So like this abstinence season is your valley. It's your stretching. It's what's going to bring you to that beautiful moment. And if you keep trying to get up on the mountaintop, it's not going to be as beautiful when you get to the actual mountain that you're going to be on for the rest of your life with your husband or wife. And so just think of your abstinence as a fasting season. It's a season of growing, and it's a season of leaning into the Father and just allowing him to be your partner. Because if you become really strong in that relationship with him, you teach your children also to be strong in that relationship with him, and that this is a strengthening process. It's like working out. Becky knows all about the workout. She's also a personal trainer.
I'm glad you're talking about the relationship, though, because people have asked, like, well, when should I start talking to my kid, about this? And we don't wait until they're teenagers. No. Give me those matches back. I'm going to show you. So,
I don't need all
I know. It's important that we start the conversation when they're young, because here's the deal. The culture we live in, sex is everywhere. These matches are all around them, everywhere they go. Because of technology, they are so exposed to the sexual culture that we live in. When they go to school, people are talking about it. It is everywhere. And so if we wait too late, they've already heard it. They've already established a view. So it starts in the home as early as they can learn to talk. This talk really starts. And I know people are like, wait, what? They're too little. But no, we start talking about their worldview as soon as they're able to talk, to say, like, God is good. God made good things, but because of sin, there is brokenness in this world, and this world has a different view. And so when you go out and you're surrounded by all this brokenness and all these scary things, you can know the truth, and you can stand firm on the truth. And we can't depend on the school system to teach them that, because unfortunately, it's very politicized. Depending on who's in office is going to depend on what our kids are learning at school. And so we can't just delegate this to someone else.
Yeah, it's not like 2 + 2 is 4. You know, sex is a very broad topic.
Yeah,
it can
it's
be
not
talked
just
about,
a science class,
especially
or
in today's world where we have people who are not even identifying as a male or a female. You know, and so the school has to open up and teach to all of those topics. So as a parent, if that's not your view, your child's going to be taught that view. And so and then you wake up one day and miraculously say, well, how did this happen?
Right.
Well, where did they get their information from? You know, who was their source? And so we have to be their source. We have to be their resource.
And we've already talked, about identity and about relationships. And so those things help build and lay the foundation to be able to bring in the topic of sex and how to talk to them about that. And so I wanted to share this resource with everyone. This is called Passport to Purity. And this is the kit that I did with my daughter this past weekend. And I absolutely love this format because it's designed to be like on a getaway, on a drive.
Who doesn't like to get away?
Right. And you don't have to go somewhere like fancy or far away, but it keeps all the distractions away. My daughter was in the front seat with me, and we're able to listen to, it's like a podcast style audio. And so you're listening, and it's very interactive. It's very entertaining. And they'll say, now pause the audio and talk about what you just heard. And she has a little journal. She's able to, write in along the way, ask questions. And Dennis and Barbara Rainey, the founders or developers of this, they have 6 children. I mean, they set it up so beautifully for you so that you don't have to sit here and think like, oh, is this too much? Is this not enough? What should I say? They lay it out perfectly so that you look like just an all-star in front of your kid.
The crazy words.
Yes.
They do it for
so we're actually going to have these available at ABC Pregnancy. So if you are serious, if you've got a child between the age of 10 and 13, that's who this is designed for. My daughter's 10. Call ABC. Come talk to us. Say, hey, I'm really wanting to do this with my son or daughter, and we're going to actually have these that you can check out to be able to do this. I will show you exactly how to do it. There's also some interactive activities that help you in the conversation. So obviously it's a lot about sex and purity, but they even talk about dating, peer pressure, your friend group, just influences in your life. And like I said earlier, my daughter appreciated this so much. She said, Mom, thank you so much for teaching me this, because I could see how someone who didn't have a mom or dad to teach them this, how their life could look. And so I highly encourage the Passport to Purity. And I feel more confident as a parent now too. After doing this, I feel like, she's going to make mistakes. I can't expect her to be perfect. There's going to be things that happen. But as a parent, I feel confident knowing that I gave her the foundation.
You did what you needed
I laid it down. And so now when the world comes and throws, the different view at her, she has a solid foundation of truth, and she can stand firm in that.
And I want to encourage the parents who, even if their child has already fallen into sex, or if they're already going after that, and you can tell that your child is very promiscuous, or you just know that they've already had sex, and you're like, well, they're too far gone. They're never too far gone. Nope. It's never too late to sit down and have a talk. The sex talk is not just one talk, though. So I just want to be that very clear. This is just ripping off the Band-Aid at the age where they're mature enough to start listening. Yep. But sex starts very early. I know my 4-year-old, he's very in tune with his body. He knows what's going on. So making him comfortable with being in tune with his body is important. Making him understand the differences between a male and a female, that's important. These are all steps to becoming a mature adult and mature in sex, and not being so curious that they're finding it in pornography.
Right.
And in the television shows. I know I was watching a show with my son. He was like, I really want to watch this. And we turned it on, and like the first episode, I was like, whoa, we can't watch this. I had to turn it off. And I remember telling my husband the next day about it, and he was like, what, that show? That's on FX. And I was like, no way. There is no way this show is on FX. And it is definitely on FX, which, if you don't know what FX is, it is a television show on your regular cable television. It's not a channel that you would typically block for parental guidance. And so it's everywhere. It's all over the place. And so we have to start very young. letting them know so they don't get information that's not true. That's
and one thing she appreciated, my daughter, was just like letting her know, like, hey, I'm on your team. Like, I'm going to be there when you do awesome. I'm going to be there when you screw up.
Yep.
Like, I'm a safe place for you to come back to. I'm a safe place for you to come when you have questions, when you are curious, when you are worried, when you are scared. Like,
open that safe place.
Open the door, so that she has that place to talk to. Because studies have actually shown, we've read a lot of this, Marietta, here at ABC, is that kids actually want to hear from their parents. All the research, you think like, oh, well, kids want to talk to their peers. They actually don't. They don't want to talk to their teachers or their coaches or their peers. They want to hear from their parents.
Even if they're shutting you off. All right. You are your children's biggest influence. We all know that. We've talked a lot about that, about how important it is to open up that communication. But Becky, as your role as an executive director, your experience at ABC in this local area, what is your personal opinion or even your research expertise? How can we drop the statistics in our local area, even in your local area, if you're watching from across the country? How can we, as parents, drop the statistics of unplanned pregnancies?
Yeah. So it's kind of everything we've been saying here. It starts in the home with you, the parents.
Yes.
And I think exactly what we're doing now, trying to empower parents to have these courageous conversations with their kids. But it's going to start in the heart of the parent. Yeah. You know, they have to have a godly view of sex and realize that our world is sexually broken because our view of sex is broken. And so if we can get back to a better choice, a better way of viewing sex, treating sex, respecting sex in the right way, personally, that's going to overflow to our kids. It's going to overflow into their lives, to the people around them, and it's going to change our community. You know, it's really a simple thing that we know. We have to talk about it. Yeah. Why do babies get here? Because two people have sex. We cannot separate sex and babies. They go together. Yeah. And again, it's simple, but you have to talk about that. You can't say that sex has no consequences. Yeah. You have to speak to your child with truth because you love them, because you care about them. And so I think just little by little, us making a better choice just in how we do things personally and with our children, we're going to see the ripple effect happen from there when we start in the home.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see the ripple effect. I hope this reaches every single one of you at your homes, right where you're at, no matter where you're at, in your car, in your home. I hope it touches your lives, and I hope it changes the world view of sex, because it's not ugly. It's not disgusting like the world is turning it into. It is beautiful. It's made for marriage. God made us. He made sex, and he loves you. He loves your children. And so just lean into that with him. Ask him, just say, God, I don't know how to do this. I need you to open up the door. I promise you, a praying parent is the best parent. And so we are so glad that you are here with us today. Thank you so much, Becky, for joining us.
And don't forget to call us. We have resources. So if this is you, if you're saying, I want to do this, I need a little motivation, where do I start? Call ABC Pregnancy. We are a resource center.
Yep. Yeah, 337-433-2797. We will put that down in the links so you can get in touch with us. But anytime
we want to help you. We want to help you be the best parent you can be, and we want to help you in this conversation.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us today on A Better Choice podcast. We are so glad we got to talk to you about sex today, and have a great day.
Thanks.